The last thing he remembers is the operating table and the face of the friend who betrayed him. Then, darkness. And now, a white ceiling and a stranger's hand with slender fingers, not a single scar in sight. Khan checks his pulse. 62 beats. A young body, a healthy body, his body to be exact, just from 1976. He sits up in bed and scans the room in 4 seconds. A steel door, an electronic lock. A camera in the corner is flashing red. Behind the door, he hears footsteps. 2 people, one in military boots, the other in sneakers. A guard and a lab technician. Khan stands up. His legs obey him, but his coordination fails him. He weighs 62 kilograms instead of his usual 80. His muscle memory betrays him at every turn. He touches his face in the mirror. 17 years old, but in his head, 67 years of blood, gunpowder, and strangers' names that he has memorized forever. The Halmoni program. He had heard that name once, in 1998, in Seoul. A project to create an eternal operative, rejuvenation, memory erasure, reintegration into society. Back then, it sounded like nonsense. Now that nonsense has become his body. They didn't erase his memory.
Or they didn't erase it completely. Or he's too stubborn even for their technology. Out of 34 test subjects, 1 survived. Him. And he'll get out of here before they realize it. Han twists the pillowcase into a tourniquet. He breaks off a piece of the IV stand, the metal stand. He breaks it into 2 pieces. He hides the shorter one in his sleeve. In 8 minutes, the shift changes. The lab technician will enter first. Khan will lie down and close his eyes. The rest will be just like the 116th time in 30 years. Only his hands are thinner and his heart is pounding too fast. The adrenaline of a 17-year-old's body isn't the adrenaline of a veteran. It's a tsunami. Han lies down. He waits. The door opens in 7 minutes and 40 seconds. He was off by 20 seconds. In his old body, he wouldn't have been. The lab technician enters first. A lab coat, a tray, a syringe. He bends down to check the IV drip. Han opens his eyes. 3 seconds later, the lab technician is lying on the floor. A pillowcase around his neck. A blow to the carotid artery. Clean. Quiet. A guard hears a noise and enters the ward. He sees an empty bed. He doesn't see Khan behind the door. A metal tube strikes the spot behind the ear. Khan catches the falling body by the collar so it doesn't crash to the floor. Silence is more important than speed. He puts on a lab coat, takes the pass, steps out into the hallway. Cameras every 10 meters. He walks without hiding. He walks like a man who has the right to be here. Back straight, stride confident. His hands hold a tablet which isn't there. 3 turns, a staircase, a fire exit. In 11 seconds, Han picks the mechanical lock with a piece of the stand. The door leads to the courtyard. Night, Seoul. The air smells of exhaust fumes and fried chicken from the stall across the street. Han stands barefoot on the asphalt and breathes. He hasn't been on the street in 40 years. 40 years ago, there were no skyscrapers here with screens covering half their facades. There were no electric scooters. There was no smell of chicken that made his stomach churn, because this body had probably never eaten a proper meal. He has 3 hours before his escape is discovered. In 3 hours, Colonel Han will vanish in any city in the world, even in Seoul, which has changed beyond recognition. 2 hours later, he's sitting in a 24-hour internet cafe in Sinchon. He's wearing a stranger's hoodie from a stranger's dryer. On his feet are a stranger's sneakers from a stranger's apartment building. He remembers the internet of 1998, the squeak of the modem, pages loading slowly. What lies before him now is another planet. But he's a quick learner. Over 30 years, he's mastered 6 languages and 14 types of weapons. He'll master this, too. In 2 hours, he finds 3 things. An apartment in the Gwanak district, paid for in cash with no questions asked. A forum where people make fake documents, because every country has forums like this. Only the language changes. And Chongyang School, an elite private school in Gangnam. Enrollment for the 2nd semester is open. Han reads the Board of Trustees list and recognizes 4 names out of 12. He once served as a bodyguard for 2 of them. He killed the 3rd one in 2003 in Bangkok. More precisely, he killed his older brother. The younger one inherited the business and now sponsors schools. It's a small world. For a man who has spent 30 years in the shadows, the world is always small. Han erases his history. He pays with a crumpled 10,000 won bill he found in the pocket of his hoodie. He steps out onto the street. 4 in the morning. Seoul never sleeps. Neon signs, drunk students, couriers on scooters. Somewhere, music he doesn't recognize is playing. His heart is beating faster than it should. Not out of fear, because he is alive. For 67 years, he learned to feel nothing. 72 hours in this body, and he feels everything. The cold on his skin, hunger in his stomach, the smell of the city, and fear. Not fear of a bullet, nor fear of failure. Fear that, for the first time, he truly wants to live. Han clenches his fists and walks toward the bus stop. In 6 hours, the first bus to Gangnam will leave. In a week, he'll be a new student at Chongyang School. In a month, 3 different organizations will be searching for him. But right now, he's just a kid in a stranger's hoodie on a Seoul street at night. And it's the most convincing disguise he has ever worn. Bus number 472 departs from the stop in Shincheon at 6:32 a.m. Han stands by the handrail because sitting means exposing his back. A habit that even a new body cannot erase. School children surround him. They cackle. They're tapping away at their phones. One guy is watching a video so loudly that Han can hear every word. Some blogger is shouting into the camera about restaurant ratings. Han doesn't understand why anyone would shout about food. In his day, people kept quiet about food, especially when there wasn't any. A girl in the corner of the bus is crying quietly. She's pressed against the window and thinks no one can see her. Han can see her. He sees that her mascara has smudged down her left cheek, that she's wiping her nose with the sleeve of her school shirt, that on her, a bruise on her wrist that's 5 days old. Domestic, not from a fall, from a grab. Someone grabbed her arm too hard. Her father. Judging by the position of the fingerprints, he's right-handed and about 5'7". Han turns away. It's none of his business. He no longer meddles in other people's problems. He's a student. He's on his way to his first day at a new school. In his backpack is a fake transfer certificate from the school in Busan and a set of school supplies bought at a 24-hour store for 3,000 won. The bus brakes sharply. The girl flies forward. Han grabs her by the hood. Without thinking, his body reacts before his brain does. He places her back exactly where she was, like a piece on a chessboard. She lifts her tear-stained eyes and looks at him. He counts the cameras on the bus. 12. His face has just been caught on 12 cameras at the very moment he demonstrated a reaction that no ordinary schoolboy would have. Idiot. He turns away toward the window. Seoul lies beyond the glass. Gyeongnam is approaching. Glass towers, expensive cars, women in coats that cost more than his fake documents. Chongyang School stands on a hill at the end of a street lined with cherry trees. A white building, 4 stories, a sports field. The parking lot is full of cars that ordinary students don't drive. Han gets off the bus and scans the area. 3 entrances. The main one with a turnstile and a security guard. A side entrance for staff. An emergency exit on the sports field side. There are 16 cameras on the facade. 2 blind spots. One behind the trash cans by the cafeteria. The second in the corner between the gym and the fence. He takes note and heads for the main entrance. The security guard looks at his ID. Looks at him. Khan smiles. Smile number 3. The timid newcomer, a little scared, a little nervous, eyes slightly wider than normal, shoulders slumped, the posture of an untrained teenager. The guard nods and lets him through. The hallway smells of linoleum and floral air freshener, certificates on the walls, photos of graduates. Han walks past and counts the faces. He recognizes one, class of 2019, 3rd row, 5th from the left, the son of the man Han worked for in Hong Kong in 2007. It's a small world. The teacher's lounge is on the 2nd floor. Vice Principal Kim greets him with a folder of documents and an expression that says she's over 50 and got tired of newbies back in the last decade. She flips through his file. Han stands and waits. He knows the documents are perfect. He spent 3 days putting them together. Fake grades, a fake school in Busan, fake parents. His mother is dead. His father works abroad. He lives alone. Everything is standard. Everything is boring. Everything is exactly as it should be, so that no one asks unnecessary questions. The dean looks up and asks why he transferred in the middle of the semester. Han replies that his father was transferred for work and he decided to stay in Seoul because the exam preparation is better here. The dean nods. Standard answer, standard story. She leads him down the hallway to Class 2B. 28 students. Han enters and bows. 28 pairs of eyes are watching him. He scans the room in 2 seconds. The front row. A girl with perfect posture. Her hair is pulled back. Not a single unnecessary accessory. An expensive pen. Neat handwriting. The class president, Yoon Sa-rin. He doesn't know her name yet, but he already knows who she is. Second row, a girl sitting as if the whole classroom were her catwalk. Bright nails. The latest model phone in a crystal-encrusted case. Popular. Rich. Choi Min-soo. Third row by the window, the girl who's drawing in her notebook and isn't looking at him, not out of shyness, out of absence. She's somewhere else. Han looks at her and something inside him freezes. He knows that look. He saw it every morning in the lab mirror. The look of someone who's had something important erased. Shin Da-hyun. He remembers her face. The back desk is occupied by a girl in an unbuttoned jacket. Her sleeves are rolled up. There are scrapes on her knuckles. She looks at him appraisingly, like a boxer eyeing a new sparring partner. Kang Yuna. Han introduces himself to the class. His voice is steady. His smile is ordinary. His heart beats at 64 beats per minute. Complete control. The dean points to an empty seat. Second row, between Min-soo and the window. He sits down. He hangs his backpack on a hook. He takes out his notebook. He opens it to the first page. Math class. The teacher writes an equation on the board. Han looks at the board. He solved this equation in his head in 3 seconds. He studied advanced mathematics in 1982 when he was taught to calculate ballistic trajectories. But Han Ji-won from Busan cannot solve the equation in 3 seconds. Han Ji-won from Busan sits there, carefully writing in his notebook and furrowing his brow as if in thought. A mask. Yet another mask. He's worn thousands of them. This one has to be the last. During recess, Min-soo turns to him. She asks where he's from. Han says Busan. She asks which neighborhood he moved to. Han says Gwanak. Min-soo raises an eyebrow. Gwanak isn't like Gangnam. At this school, everyone's from Gangnam, from Socho, from Yongsan. Gwanak is a different world. Min-soo wants to ask something else, but the bell rings. Han turns away and exhales. First contact. Went okay. During the third period, he notices the English teacher. Young, 26 or 27, beautiful. She smiles a lot. But Han sees something else. He sees how she stands, weight on the balls of her feet, ready to move. He sees her hands, calluses on the index and middle fingers of her right hand. Not from a pen, from a trigger. He sees how she scans the classroom. Not like a teacher looking for someone who isn't listening, like an operative looking for a target. NIS. First agent. Undercover. Most likely hasn't been working here for more than a month. In 40 seconds, Han figures her out completely. Age 27. Height 5 feet 6 inches. Weight 119 pounds. Right-handed. Trained but not a combat specialist. An analyst on a field assignment. So this isn't an urgent operation. That means NIS doesn't know he's here yet. She's here to observe the school. To watch someone else. Maybe Da-hyun. Han doesn't let on. He opens an English textbook and mispronounces a word. On purpose. He speaks 6 languages. His English has a slight Virginia accent because he was taught by a former Marine from Richmond. But Han Ji-won from Busan speaks poor English. With a Korean accent. With stutters. The teacher corrects him and smiles. He smiles back. 2 professionals. One knows that the other is dangerous. The other has no idea yet. The day ends. Han leaves school and walks to the bus stop. He does 3 things at once. He counts the cameras along the route. He memorizes the bus schedule. And he thinks about the girl who was drawing in her notebook and didn't look up once all day. Shin Da-hyun, the second survivor. He's almost certain. And if he's right, then everything has become much more complicated than he planned. Day 3. Han sits in the cafeteria and eats rice with kimchi. The food is simple, but for a body that doesn't remember flavors, it's like an explosion. The rice is hot. The kimchi is spicy. He chews and feels his 17-year-old brain releasing dopamine from an ordinary school lunch. For 67 years, he ate just to function. Now he eats, and it tastes good. It's annoying. It's wonderful. He surveys the cafeteria. 200 people. Noise. Smells. The school's social map is clear in 10 minutes. The elite class sits by the window. The children of prosecutors and generals and chaebol CEOs. The middle class in the center. Scholars and athletes by the wall, closer to the serving line. There is one table with just one person sitting at it. Shin Da-hyun. She eats slowly. She draws between sips of soup. No one sits next to her. No one talks to her. Han looks away. Not now. Later. The bell rings. He tosses his tray aside and heads to the utility room on the first floor. He memorized the layout of all the utility rooms on his first day. A professional habit. You have to know every corner of the building you're in. H-Han opens the back room door with the broom the duty student had asked him to bring. Inside are 4 high school seniors. They've pinned a girl against the wall. Yoon Serene, his class president. Han assesses the situation in a second and a half. 4 of them. The leader is standing closest to Serene. His right hand is in his pocket. The shape of the pocket gives away the object. A butterfly knife, a folding knife, a cheap one. The blade is no longer than 8 centimeters. The second guy is standing behind her. He's breathing through his mouth. His chest is heaving unevenly. Asthmatic. His inhaler is most likely in his right pants pocket. The third is shifting from foot to foot. A newbie. First time doing something like this. His hands are sweaty. The fourth stands by the door. Lookout. The most useless one. He's looking down the hallway instead of inside. Serene stands up straight. Her back is straight. She isn't crying or screaming. She's angry. Han can tell by her pursed lips and flared nostrils. She isn't the type to be a victim. But 4 is 4, and one of them has a knife. Han could take them out in 4 seconds. 1 move for each. But Han Ji-won from Busan doesn't know how to fight. Han Ji-won from Busan came for a broom. He walks in. He takes the bucket of water standing against the wall. He pours the water onto the floor, in an even layer. Not on them, just on the floor. In front of them. Then he takes a light bulb out of his pocket. He's been carrying it with him since day 1 because he noticed that a light bulb in the utility room had burned out, and the duty officer had asked him to replace it. Coincidence, or not. Colonel Han didn't believe in coincidences. He believed in preparation. Han screws the light bulb into the socket above his head. The light grows brighter. The 4 squint. Khan says, "Sorry, I was told to replace the light bulb," takes a broom, and walks out. He closes the door. He counts. 10 seconds. The leader takes a step towards Saren. He steps into the water. His soul slips. He falls forward. A hand shoots out of his pocket. A butterfly knife opens as he falls. The blade cuts his thigh. Not deep, but painful. He screams. The asthmatic takes a sharp breath in fright. His throat tightens. He wheezes and reaches for his inhaler. The newcomer panics. He rushes to the door. The 4th student sees the blood and turns pale. A minute later, they call the teacher. Saren stands by the wall and looks at the door through which the new kid left. She's smart. She saw him pour out the water. She saw him screw in the light bulb that blinded them for a second. She's not sure. Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe not. During recess, she finds him in the hallway. She walks up to him. She says thank you for the light bulb. Han looks at her. She doesn't specify which light bulb. She looks him in the eyes. Her gaze is direct, analytical. This girl is dangerous, not because she knows how to fight, because she knows how to think. Han says he doesn't understand what she's talking about. Saren tilts her head slightly. She doesn't believe him, but she doesn't press the issue. She turns and walks away. Han watches her back and feels his heart skip a beat. Hormones. Damn teenage hormones. The next day, Han arrives at school before everyone else. At 6 in the morning, the grounds are empty. The guard at the gate is asleep. Han walks past and begins his rounds. He does what he's done in every new building for the past 30 years. He maps it out, not on paper, in his head. Every hallway, every door, every window, every camera, every lock. He checks the cafeteria, 12 cover points, 3 escape routes. The kitchen leads to the backyard to the parking lot to the street. He checks the gym, windows 3 meters high. The emergency exit is blocked by a mop. He moves the mop aside. If he needs to run, The gym will be a trap without that exit. He checks the roof. The lock is simple. He memorizes the combination. The entire neighborhood is visible from the roof. The 3 buildings across the street provide a good vantage point. One of them is residential. 2 are office buildings. Khan memorizes the windows. If anyone is watching the school from outside, they'll be in one of those buildings. He climbs down. He walks to his locker. He opens it. He puts his backpack inside. He freezes. On the top shelf inside lies a small black object. Khan holds his breath for 3 seconds. Then he slowly picks it up with 2 fingers. A bug. A miniature microphone transmitter. A model he recognizes. South Korean intelligence. A standard plant. The NIS already knows he's here, or knows that someone interesting is here. A bug in a new kid's locker. It could be a routine check. A new student in the middle of the semester at an elite school. Suspicious. They could have planted it automatically, or maybe not. Han puts the bug back. He doesn't remove it. He doesn't break it. If he removes the bug, they'll realize he found it. And an ordinary student doesn't find bugs in his locker. Han closes the locker. Now he knows that every word he says near this spot is being recorded. It's a limitation. But limitations are just boundaries, and boundaries can be used. If they're listening, let them hear what he wants them to hear. An ordinary, boring boy from Busan. The bell rings. The 4th day of his new life begins. Han walks into the classroom. There's a note on Serin's desk. He doesn't know who it's from. Serin picks up the note and reads it. Her expression doesn't change. She folds the note and puts it in her pocket. But Han sees that her fingers clenched for half a second tighter than necessary. Someone wrote her something unpleasant. He takes note of this and does nothing. For now, Friday of the first week, Han sits in his Korean literature class and listens as the teacher talks about the poetry of the Joseon era. Han knows this subject better than the teacher. He studied Korean classics in 1985 during a training course to prepare for his assignment at the embassy in Tokyo. But now he sits there and carefully takes notes in his notebook. His hand hurts. He isn't used to writing this much. In his past life, he wrote reports on a computer. Briefly, objective, method, result. No poetry. Break. Han steps out into the hallway and sees Park Ha-in. She's standing by the drink machine, staring at a bottle of water as if it were the enemy. She wants a drink, but the bottle is high in calories. Flavored water with sugar. There's no plain water nearby. Ha-in stands there, motionless. Han sees more. He sees that she's lost weight since the start of the week. He sees her sunken eyes. He sees how she automatically sucks in her stomach when someone walks by. He sees the bracelet on her wrist, a fitness tracker. She counts every step and every calorie. She's 16 years old and she counts the calories in water. Han walks past, stops at the vending machine, buys plain water, hands it to her, says he accidentally bought 2. Hyun takes it and thanks him. A small bow, too deep for a simple bottle of water. She's used to being grateful for everything. She was taught that way. The agency taught her that any kindness is a debt that must be repaid. Han sees this and walks away silently. At lunchtime, he doesn't go to the cafeteria but to the store near the school. He buys a container, rice, fish, vegetables. He returns to school. He finds a microwave in the teacher's lounge that someone forgot to lock. He cooks. It's not complicated, just rice, fish, and vegetables. But he calculates the proportions. Protein, carbs, fiber. Exactly enough to fit the strict diet of an idle agency trainee, yet still be a meal. A real meal. Not that punishment they call a meal plan. He places the container on Hyun's desk before the start of the 5th period. He doesn't leave a note. A minute later, she opens the container and freezes. The rice is neatly arranged. The fish is cut into small pieces. The vegetables are steamed. It all looks like a real lunch. She looks around. Han is sitting at his desk looking at his textbook. She doesn't know it's him. Not yet. But she eats. For the first time in 2 weeks, she's eating a proper meal and doesn't feel guilty about it. 6th period. PE teacher Cho Son-senim lines up the class on the field. Han stands in formation and studies him. A 42-year-old man. Height, 5 feet 9 inches. Weight, 183 pounds. Former Special Forces. Han figures this out in 5 seconds from the way his feet are positioned. Feet parallel. The distance between them is exactly shoulder width. Knees slightly bent. Only people who have undergone top-level military training stand like that. plus a scar on his right forearm, a knife wound from a long time ago, plus the look. Cho Sonsanim looks at the students, but not like a teacher, like an officer looking at recruits, assessing physical fitness, identifying the strong and the weak. Han knows that look. He used to look that way himself for 30 years. But there's something else. Cho Sonsanim glances in Han's direction 3 times during the lesson, not at Han, in his direction, as if checking with his peripheral vision, a professional habit. He's watching someone and doesn't want it to be obvious. The question is, who? Han or Da-hyun, who's sitting on the bench and not participating in the lesson due to a doctor's note. The lesson is running. Han runs at a moderate pace, not fast, not slow, just enough so as not to stand out. That's the hardest part. His body wants to run. 17 years old, his muscles are fresh, his lungs are clear, his legs spring off the asphalt. He could outrun anyone on this field. But Han Ji-won from Busan isn't an athlete. Han Ji-won from Busan finishes 4th out of 10, the middle, invisibility. After class, Coach Cho stops him. He asks if he's played sports before. Han says he used to run a little in the mornings in Busan. Coach Cho nods. His eyes say he doesn't believe it, but he lets Han go. This is bad. The PE teacher, who is a former Special Forces soldier, has taken notice of him. Han ran too well. Even his 4th place finish was too good because he ran so relaxed, effortless. A real 4th place finisher would have run tensely. Han ran like a man holding back. A professional can see that. A mistake. In the evening, Han heads to his apartment in Gwanak, a small studio on the 5th floor with no elevator. 1 room, a kitchen, a bathroom. The window overlooks the fire escape, a second escape route. That's exactly why he chose this apartment. Han sits down on the floor. He has no furniture. There's a mattress, a blanket, a backpack, a laptop bought with cash at a second-hand electronics store. He opens the laptop and starts working. 3 tasks for the evening. First, gather information on Cho Sonsanim. If he's NIS, then his cover identity has gaps. Every cover story has gaps. He needs to find them. Second, check Shin Da-hyun's schedule. Where she goes after school, who she hangs out with, what she draws. Third, prepare a lunchbox for Hyun for Monday. Han pauses at the 3rd task and stares at the wall. He's preparing food for a 16-year-old girl he's seen 3 times in his life. This isn't part of the plan. It doesn't help with survival. It isn't logical. But the body of a 17-year-old doesn't know the word logical. It knows the word right. Feeding a hungry child is right. Colonel Han would never have done this. Colonel Han died in Almaty. Han Ji-won takes the groceries out of his backpack and starts cooking. Outside the window, Seoul hums. Cars, music, voices on the balcony 1 floor below. A couple is arguing. He hears every word but isn't listening. He chops vegetables and thinks of 6 people at once. Serene, who received the note. Minsu, whom he doesn't really know yet but who panics in elevators. Hyun, who doesn't eat. Yuna, whom he caught a glimpse of in the hallway with a cut eyebrow. Emily So, who hasn't shown up in his class yet but whose name he saw on the student list. And Da-hyun, who's drawing something in her notebook and doesn't know who she really is. 6 people, 6 problems. None of them are his. All of them are his. Han finishes cooking. He puts the container in the fridge. He lies down on the mattress. He closes his eyes. He falls asleep in 4 seconds. An old habit. Sleep when you can, eat when there's food, kill when you have to. He wakes up at 3 in the morning to a sound, quiet, metallic. Someone is standing on the fire escape outside the window. Khan doesn't move, doesn't open his eyes, listens. The breathing of a single person, a man, heavy, 90 kilograms, standing motionless, watching. 2 minutes later he leaves, footsteps down the stairs, silence. Han opens his eyes and stares at the ceiling. They found him faster than he expected. The question is, who exactly? NIS, the agency, or Sun Tae-hyun. All 3 options are bad, but in different ways. Saturday, Han wakes up at 5 in the morning and checks the fire escape first thing. There's an oil stain on the railing of the 4th landing. Engine oil, military grade, gun oil. The person who stood here last night carries a weapon and maintains it regularly, not the NIS. Their analysts don't bring weapons on night surveillance missions. The agency, a professional. Han goes down to the first floor and exits through the back door into the courtyard. The courtyard is small, trash cans, a bike rack. He checks the camera above the building entrance. The camera is turned 3 degrees to the right. Yesterday it was facing straight ahead. Someone tampered with it. Han memorizes the angle. If the camera was turned, it means they wanted to remove his door from the frame. That means the visit wasn't random. They found him specifically. The question is how? He doesn't use a phone. He doesn't go online from his home IP. His documents are flawless, so someone identified him. The question is who and where. Han returns to the apartment. He packs an emergency backpack, a change of clothes, money, a knife, documents. He places it under the window. If he has to leave quickly, the backpack will be waiting. Then he drives to Gangnam. It's Saturday, a school holiday, but Han doesn't go to school. He drives to the neighborhood near the school. He needs to scout the area outside of Cheongyang. He walks the streets for 3 hours, memorizing. A coffee shop on the corner. From there, you can see the school's main entrance, a 24-hour store across the street. Cameras are pointed at the parking lot. The alley behind the school leads to a residential neighborhood. It's a 3-minute run to the subway station. The subway station. Line 3. 2 exits, one onto the main street, the second into the shopping mall. The shopping mall has 4 floors and 12 gaps, perfect for disappearing. Han sits in the coffee shop drinking an Americano. People walk past the window. A typical Saturday in Hanam. Expensive bags, expensive cars, expensive faces. He sees a woman with a dog, a man in a suit, a couple of students, a girl in a school uniform. Han freezes. A Cheongyang uniform. Saturday. Who goes to school on Saturdays? He looks closer. Kang Yuna, the eldest, the leader of the biker club. She walks quickly, hands in her pockets, hood pulled down. Her left eyebrow is cut, a fresh band-aid. She fights regularly. Han watches her walk, a boxer's stance. Her left shoulder slightly forward, weight on her back leg. But there's a flaw. She's guarding her torso but not her head. She quit boxing before she learned how to guard her head. Or maybe she quit because she didn't want to guard her head. Han takes a sip of coffee and doesn't follow her. He watches through the window as she disappears around the corner. Direction: the Seocheon district. Apartment buildings. What is she doing there on a Saturday morning? He finishes his coffee, pays, exits, walks in the other direction. He has more important things to do. The Itaewon district. 20 minutes by subway. Han gets off at the station and walks to a small electronics shop on a side street. The shop looks ordinary. A display window, phones, headphones, but Han knows places like this. They were the same in every city, in every country. A front for money laundering or for selling things that aren't sold in regular stores. He goes inside. Behind the counter is a man in his 60s, Korean, gray-haired, thin. Han looks at his hands, old burns on his fingertips, a soldering iron. This man has been assembling and disassembling electronics his whole life. Han says he needs parts for a school project. The man looks at him. Han shifts his posture. He straightens his shoulders, tilts his head slightly. For 2 seconds, he lets his gaze become that look, not a boy's gaze. The man behind the counter sees it, and his hand freezes. He understands. 15 minutes later, Han walks out with a bag. Inside are components for 3 devices: an alarm transmitter, 500-meter radius, a jammer for one type of bug, and a small camera with a 7-hour 12 hours. All of this cost 120,000 won, almost all of his money. But money can be earned, life cannot. Back to Kwanak. Han sits on the floor of the apartment and assembles the transmitter. His hands remember. His fingers are thinner than he's used to, but his fine motor skills are even better. A young body. Flexible joints. He's soldering miniature contacts and thinking. The agency knows his apartment. That means he needs a second location, a backup hideout. He knows where. An abandoned floor above a laundromat 3 blocks from here. He saw it when he was looking for an apartment. The lock is broken. The plumbing works. There's no electricity, but he doesn't need electricity. He needs a roof and a lock that closes from the inside. He'll move some of his supplies there tomorrow. The transmitter is ready. Small. Fits in the palm of his hand. Han pulls a broken hairpin out of his pocket. He picked it up yesterday in the school hallway. Pink, with a little flower. It belongs to Choi Min-soo. He saw one like it in her hair on the first day. It broke, and Min-soo threw it in the trash can next to the classroom. Han took it when no one was looking. Now he's taking the hairpin apart. He removes the decorative part. He soldered a transmitter inside. He soldered on an activation button disguised as a clasp. He put it back together. The hairpin looks like new, even better. He fixed the broken mechanism. Now it's a hairpin with a flower inside, hiding an alarm transmitter with a 500-meter range. If Minsu presses the button, a signal will go to the receiver that Han plans to carry with him. Why is he doing this? He doesn't really know her. He doesn't know she has panic attacks in elevators. He doesn't know she was kidnapped as a child. But he saw her eyes. He's seen how she looks back when she leaves school. A quick glance over her shoulder, a check. That's how people look back who once lost control of what was behind them. Han knows that look. He has the same one. He'll put the hairpin on her desk on Monday. No note. If she asks, he'll say he found it in the hallway and thought it was hers. Simple and clean. The camera is ready. Han sets it up on the fire escape. He points it at the space between the 4th and 5th floors. If the night visitor returns, Han will see his face. He isn't using the jammer yet. Let the bug in the locker keep working. It's still useful. Han lies down on the mattress. He'll spend Sunday preparing. Monday marks the start of the 2nd week. He closes his eyes and thinks of Da-hyun. She drew in every class. He saw it out of the corner of his eye. She doesn't draw random things. He noticed one drawing as he walked past her desk. Mountains, low, rounded, with a small village at their base. Han knows these mountains. It's the area around Suwon. That's where the Halmyoni program's training base was. He was there once in the early 90s, at a meeting with the curators. Da-hyun is drawing a place she doesn't remember. Her memory is erased, but her hands remember. The body remembers what the brain has forgotten. Han understands this. He went through the same thing, only he was luckier. Or unluckier. It depends on your point of view. He falls asleep and has a dream, his first in a week. He dreams of an operating table, bright lights. Sun Taehyun's face above him. Taehyun says something, but Han can't hear it. He just sees the lips. And the smile. That very smile he'd known for 20 years, which turned out to be a mask. Han wakes up. 4 in the morning. His heart is racing at 120 beats per minute. Sweat on his forehead. A teenager's body reacts to nightmares differently, more intensely, louder. Colonel Han used to wake up from nightmares calmly. He'd open his eyes, exhale, carry on. Han Ji-won wakes up and feels his hands shaking. He clenches his fists. He waits for it to pass. 4 minutes. His hands stop shaking. He gets up. He goes to the bathroom. He turns on the water. He looks in the mirror. 17 years old, the face of a boy, the eyes of an old man. He tells his reflection that everything is fine. The reflection doesn't believe him. Monday of the 2nd week. Han arrives at school 20 minutes before the bell rings. He places a flower hairpin on Minsu's desk. He places a lunchbox on Hyun's desk. He sits down at his seat and opens his notebook. 10 minutes later, the classroom fills up. Minsu sits down and sees the hairpin. She picks it up. She twirls it between her fingers. Han isn't looking her way. Minsu recognizes the hairpin. It's hers. She threw it away last week. The clasp was broken. Now the hairpin is whole. Even better than it was. Minsu looks around. No one is watching. She puts the hairpin in her hair and touches the flower with her fingers. Hyun opens the lunchbox. Rice, steamed chicken, spinach, carrots cut into thin strips. Everything is calculated. Everything is perfect. She doesn't know who left it. She eats, quietly, quickly. Like someone afraid their food will be taken away. First period, math. Han solves the problems slowly. He deliberately makes a mistake on the 3rd problem. He corrects it. The mask of an ordinary student. Average. Inconsequential. During recess, Emily So approaches him. He saw her name on the list, but she wasn't there the 1st week. She stands in front of his desk and speaks Korean with a slight accent. She asks if he's the new kid from Busan. Han nods. She sits on the edge of his desk without asking. Han takes her in. 5'7", tall for a Korean woman. Half Korean. European features in her cheekbones. An American ease in her posture. But her eyes are attentive. She looks at people as if they were a map she needs to read. A diplomat's daughter. Used to new countries and new faces. She's learned to read people quickly because she'll be leaving in 2 years anyway. Emily asks how school is going for him. Han says, it's fine. She says that fine means it's terrible, but you're too polite to tell the truth. Han almost smiles. She's smart, and sassy, and lonely. He can tell by the way she keeps her distance. She sits down next to him, but not too close. She speaks openly, but not about herself. A defense mechanism. Don't get attached, and it won't hurt to leave. Emily leaves when the bell rings. Han watches her go. Fourth period. No, fifth. 5 girls, and each is carrying something heavy. He wasn't going to notice it. He wasn't going to feel it. But a 17-year-old body doesn't ask for permission. Third period. English. Teacher Moon begins the class. Han sits and mispronounces the words. Moon Sonsenim walks between the desks. When she passes by Han, he smells it. Light, metallic, gun oil. The same as on the railing of his fire escape. Han doesn't turn his head. He doesn't change his expression. But inside, everything shifts. Teacher Moon isn't just an NIS agent. She's in contact with the same circle as the man who was standing by his apartment. NIS and the office. 2 different hunters. But if the scent is the same, it means there's a point of intersection. Maybe a shared informant. Maybe a shared arsenal. Maybe Moon works for both sides and doesn't even know it. Or maybe she does. Han writes down English words in his notebook with mistakes and thinks. Fourth period. Lunch. Han goes to the cafeteria. He takes a tray. Rice. Soup. Kimchi. He sits down at an empty table. 2 minutes later, Yuna sits down next to him, without asking. She sets her tray across from him. She looks at him as if he owes her money. She asks if he saw her motorcycle in the parking lot. Han says no. Yuna says someone scratched the gas tank. She wants to find that person and explain the difference between an accident and a mistake. Han eats his soup. Yuna keeps talking. She isn't waiting for him to answer. She needs someone by her side who doesn't try to stop her or fix her. Han understands this. He eats and listens. Yuna falls silent after 5 minutes. Then she says he's strange because he hasn't made a single stupid comment. Han says he likes the soup. Yuna stares at him for 3 seconds. Then she snorts. She almost laughs. She gets up and leaves. Han finishes his soup and thinks that this girl fights not because she's mean. She fights because when her hands are busy, her mind doesn't think. He knows this. He's been doing the same thing for 40 years. After lunch, Han goes to his locker. He opens it. The bug is still there. Han takes out a textbook and speaks softly so the microphone can hear. He says he forgot to call his father and that he needs to buy new sneakers tonight because the old ones are too tight. Background noise. Just an ordinary boy. He closes the locker and heads to the 5th class, the last class, history. Han listens to the lecture on the Korean War and remains silent. He knows things about this war that aren't printed in any textbook. But Han Ji-won from Busan knows nothing beyond paragraph 13. After class, Han leaves school. A black car is parked in the lot. A Hyundai, the latest model, tinted windows. The engine is running. Han walks past. He doesn't look, but he sees. A man is behind the wheel, alone. His age is impossible to tell because of the tinted windows. The car isn't here to pick up a child. It's not the right time. Classes just ended, and the car has been here for a while. The mud on the wheel wells has dried, at least an hour. Watching. The school. The entrance. Him. Han walks toward the bus stop at a steady pace. No faster than usual. No slower. He gets on the bus, rides 2 stops, gets off, changes to another route, gets off after 3 stops, goes down to the subway, rides 1 station, gets off, goes up, walks 4 blocks in a circle, checks his tail. Clear. No one's following. But he remembers the black car by the school, the model, the color, the dirt on the fenders. The left headlight is slightly dimmer than the right, a detail that might come in handy. Evening. The apartment. Khan checks the camera on the fire escape. There's a recording. No one came last night. Han fast forwards. Nothing. 1 night without visitors means nothing. They'll be back. He sits down and thinks. He has 3 problems. First, the agency found his apartment. He needs to decide what to do. Moving is dangerous. If they're watching the apartment, they'll see he's packed his things and realize he's found them. Better to stay and keep the situation under control. Let them think he doesn't know. Second, Chae Son-sinim has taken notice of him. He needs to distract him. At the next PE class, he'll perform worse. Slower. Out of breath. Maybe he'll even stumble. He can't overdo it. But 2 bad classes in a row, and the attention will shift to someone else. Third, Moon Seon-singnim smells like gun oil. It could be a coincidence.
She might have accidentally touched something in the teacher's lounge. Or she's carrying a weapon. If she is, the situation is more serious than he thought. An NIS analyst doesn't carry a weapon at school, unless the school is an active operational zone. If the school is an active operational zone, that means the NIS knows someone is here. That means the bug in the locker isn't routine. Han stands up. He walks to the window. He looks out at the city. In 2 weeks, he had planned to start a quiet life. Go to school, study, eat in the cafeteria, maybe make friends, real ones. Not assets, not sources, friends. Now, he has to run 3 counterintelligence operations simultaneously, while not forgetting to do his algebra homework. 67 years of experience hadn't prepared him for this. Nothing could have prepared him for this. Han sits down at the table and opens his textbook, Algebra. He works through the problems. He deliberately gets 2 out of 10 wrong. The middle ground, invisibility. An ambulance siren wails outside the window. Seoul carries on. Han carries on pretending. Wednesday of the 2nd week. Han stands in the hallway by the bulletin board and reads the elective schedule. Saren stops next to him. She stands silently for about 5 seconds. Then she says that the debate club meets on Thursdays, and if he's interested, he can come. Han turns to her. She looks straight ahead. No smile, no flirtation. A businesslike offer from the class president to a newcomer. But Han sees more. He sees that she's standing closer than she was a week ago. He sees that her fingers are gripping the strap of her bag a little tighter than usual. She's nervous. Yoon Saren, who never gets nervous before any exam or performance, is nervous because she's inviting him to the club. Han says he'll think about it. Saren nods and leaves. He watches her go and catches himself counting her steps. Why? There's no reason. Damn hormones. Thursday, Han arrives at the debate club, a room on the 3rd floor, 12 people. Saren is leading the session. The topic, is government interference in citizens' private lives permissible for the sake of national security? Han sits in the back row and feels something tighten inside him. This topic isn't abstract to him. He is state interference. He has been an instrument of that interference for 30 years. The discussion continues. The students present textbook arguments, human rights, the Constitution, privacy. It all sounds nice. It's all far from reality. Saren calls on him. He stands up. 24 eyes are on the newcomer. Khan says the question isn't whether it's permissible or not. The question is, who decides? Because whoever decides what constitutes a security threat will sooner or later decide that the one asking the questions is the threat. Silence. Saren tilts her head. She looks at him the way she did in the back room, as if trying to see something behind the mask. One of the students asks how he knows that. Han says he read it somewhere. He sits down. Saren continues leading the discussion, but her eyes return to him 4 more times over the next 20 minutes. He counts. After club, she approaches him. She says his answer was interesting. She says he doesn't speak like a student from Busan. Han asks, then how do students from Busan speak? Saren smiles slightly. The first smile he's seen from her. Small, almost imperceptible, but genuine. She walks away. Han stands there and feels his pulse rise to 78. He can control his breathing. He can control his facial expressions. He can control his movements, but he can't control the fact that this girl makes his heart beat faster with just a simple smile. Friday, PE. Han sticks to the plan. He runs slower. He's gasping for breath on the last lap. Coach Cho is watching. Han sees the interest fade from his gaze. Good. One less problem. After PE, he heads to the locker room. Yuna is standing at the entrance. Her face is angry. Her fists are clenched. No scrapes on her knuckles, so she hasn't gotten into a fight yet, but she's about to. Han walks past. Yuna says 3 guys from a parallel class are messing with the motorcycle again. She's going to sort it out. Han stops. 3 guys, Yuna alone. Even if she fights better than any girl in school, 3 guys are 3 guys. He says he'll go with her. Yuna looks at him suspiciously. She asks why. Han says it's on his way. Yuna snorts, but she doesn't refuse. They walk to the parking lot. 3 guys are standing by Yuna's motorcycle. One is sitting on the seat. The second is fiddling with the ignition lock. The third is standing on the footrest. Yuna clenches her fists. Han sees she's ready to to pounce. He puts his hand on her shoulder, gently. For half a second, she freezes. He speaks softly. He says let them try to start it. The ignition is locked. They'll break the screwdriver and leave. If she gets into a fight, she'll be suspended. 3 days out of school. The motorcycle will be confiscated because it's not registered in the area. She'll lose both the bike and 3 days. Yuna listens. Her shoulder under his arm is stiff with tension, but she listens. A minute later, the guys break the screwdriver. They curse. They leave. Yuna looks at Han.
She asks how he knows the ignition is locked. Han says he saw the lock when he walked past the parking lot. Yuna asks how he knows the motorcycle isn't registered. Han says it doesn't have a school sticker, and without a sticker, you can't park on campus. Yuna is silent. Then she says he's not as dumb as he looks. Han says thank you. Yuna almost smiles. Almost. They go their separate ways. Han walks toward the bus and thinks, he just stopped Kang Yuna from getting into a fight. It's none of his business. It's not part of the plan. But he saw how she was standing. He saw the stance of a boxer who doesn't protect her head. He saw the band-aid on her eyebrow. He saw the bruises on her arms that she hides under her rolled-up sleeves. She maims herself with every fight and doesn't notice. Or maybe she does, and she doesn't care. Han knows this kind of behavior. He's seen it in operatives after losing a partner. Self-destruction disguised as aggression. Yuna lost her brother. In every fight, she's searching for that night when he was gone, looking for a moment to rewrite. But you can't rewrite what's already happened. You can only learn to live with it afterward. Han hasn't learned that in 67 years, but maybe he can teach her. Saturday, early morning. Han isn't going to school. He's heading to the abandoned floor above the laundromat. He's taking a spare backpack there, a bottle of water, a flashlight, a knife, a change of clothes, a first aid kit. Now he has 2 places, the apartment and the hideout. If the office comes at night, he has somewhere to go. Back to the apartment. Khan checks the camera on the fire escape. A week's worth of footage. 4 nights are empty. The 5th night, Wednesday, 3:12 a.m. A man is standing on the landing between the 4th and 5th floors. A man. Broad shoulders, dark jacket, hood. His face is not visible. He stands there and stares at Khan's window for 4 minutes. Then he leaves. Khan fast forwards. He looks for the moment when the face is visible. The man turns toward the stairs. For a second, the camera catches the lower part of his face. Chin, a scar, thin, horizontal, from a knife. Khan freezes. He knows that scar. He saw it in 2004 in Jakarta. The man with the scar worked for the office. Call sign, Bear. Real name, Ko Chang-ho. Specialization, close combat and surveillance. Han worked with him twice, in 2004 and in 2011. Ko Chang-ho doesn't know that Colonel Han is now a specialty. He came on a tip. Someone told him that an interesting target lives in this apartment, but he doesn't know exactly who. Otherwise, he wouldn't be standing on the stairs. He would have gone inside. Ko Chang-ho isn't the type to wait. Han deletes the recording. He takes down the camera, moves it to a new spot. Now the camera is facing the building entrance instead of the staircase. He needs to know when he arrives, not where he's standing. Han sits on the floor and thinks. The office sent Bear. That's bad. Bear isn't reconnaissance. Bear is the final stage before elimination. First, the analysts find him. Then the observers confirm it. Then Bear comes and finishes the job. That means the analysts have already found him. The observers have already confirmed it. Bear is in the 3rd stage. Han has little time. A week, maybe 2. Then Bear will receive his orders. And then Han Ji-won of Busan will cease to exist. Along with Han Ji-won, the boy who brings food to a hungry girl, fixes her hairpins, and says clever things at the debate club will cease to exist. Han clenches his fists. No, he won't cease to exist. For Detective Han has been solving problems that seemed unsolvable for 30 years. Bear is a problem. Problems can be solved. A plan is needed. Sunday. Han sits in an internet cafe and searches for information. Ko Chang-ho, the bear, 51 years old, if he's still alive and not retired. Han knows his profile by heart. Left-handed, prefers knives, average with a gun, dangerous in hand-to-hand combat. Habit number 1, he eats spicy noodles before an operation. Habit number 2, he rents a place no more than 2 kilometers from the target. Habit number 3. He always works alone, no partners. No assistance. That is his strength and his weakness. Han opens a map of the area, a 2-kilometer radius from his apartment, 14 motels, 6 guest houses, 23 available apartments on rental sites. Too many options for a direct search. He needs to narrow it down. Ko Chang-ho is left-handed. Left-handers choose corner rooms with a window on the left, a habit, unconscious but consistent. Han checks the floor plans of the available apartments. 7 out of 23 have a window on the left. 3 motels offer corner rooms, 10 options. Better, but still too many. Han closes the browser and thinks. A different approach. Ko Chang-ho doesn't know that his target is Colonel Han. He came to verify a tip. If the tip is confirmed, he'll request authorization for elimination. If it isn't confirmed, he'll leave. So the tip must not be confirmed. Ko Chang-ho needs to look at Han Ji-won and see an ordinary schoolboy, not a former operative, not a colonel, a boy. It's a difficult task. Ko Chang-ho is a professional. He sees the same things Han does: micro-expressions, body language, habits. If Han moves like an operative, Bear will see it. So Han must move like a 17-year-old, completely, without a single crack in the mask. It's possible, but it requires an effort he hasn't made once in 30 years. Before, masks were a working tool. Put it on, take it off, move on. Now the mask must become his face. Monday, 3rd week. Han begins the operation. He calls it Mirror to himself. The goal: to become such a convincing high school student that a professional hitman with 20 years of experience won't notice the trick. The method: total mimicry. Khan changes everything. His gait: he starts walking like a teenager. Relaxed shoulders, long strides, a slight lean forward, phone in hand. He bought a cheap smartphone and now carries it everywhere. Stares at the screen on the go, like everyone else. Gaze: he stops scanning the room, stops counting the exits, looks straight ahead or at his phone. This is the hardest part. For 30 years, he entered every room as if it were a potential ambush. Now he walks in and looks at the board, only at the board. His body protests. His back itches from feeling unprotected, but he holds his ground. His voice: he starts speaking louder, with teenage inflections. He draws out his vowels. He throws in slang. He doesn't know modern slang, so he listens to his classmates and copies them every other day. Emily catches him doing this. She says that he didn't know the word yesterday, but today he's using it as if he'd been saying it his whole life. Han says he heard it in a video. Emily squints. She doesn't believe him, but she doesn't press the issue. Wednesday. Han is sitting in the cafeteria. Min-soo sits down next to him. She touches the hairpin in her hair. She says she found it on the desk on Monday. She says it was broken, but someone fixed it. Han says maybe it was the janitor. Min-soo says the janitor doesn't fix hairpins. She looks at him. Han eats his rice and doesn't react. Min-soo says the hairpin is better now than it was before. She says whoever fixed it didn't just glue it back together, but rebuilt the mechanism. She touches the flower on the hairpin. Her finger lands right on the transmitter button. Han stops chewing for half a second. If she presses it, the receiver in his pocket will vibrate, and he won't be able to explain why his pocket is vibrating in response to her hairpin. Min-soo pulls her hand away. Han breathes a sigh of relief. Min-soo continues talking. She tells him about the school festival coming up in a month. The class has to organize something. A cafe, a fair, something. She's on the committee. She needs volunteers. Han says he can help in the kitchen. Min-soo asks if he knows how to cook. Han says a little. Min-soo writes his name in her notebook. She leaves. Han watches her leave and thinks that he just volunteered to cook for the school festival. Colonel Han once poisoned the Deputy Minister of Defense at a reception in Vienna by mixing poison into the canapes he had prepared himself. Now he'll be making omurice for high school students. Life has changed. Thursday, debate club. Topic: the ethics of lying. When a lie is justified. Han sits in silence for the entire hour. Saren doesn't call on him. She senses that this topic is different for him. She doesn't know why, but she feels it. After the club, she goes to the library. Han knows because he saw her schedule. Every Thursday after the club, she sits in the library until 10 o'clock at night. She's preparing for exams in 3 months. She eats from the vending machine. A chocolate bar and coffee. That's not a meal. Han goes home. He makes a sandwich, ham, lettuce, cheese, no mayonnaise. He noticed on the first day that Saren was setting aside the salad, drizzled with mayonnaise, in the cafeteria and eating only plain rice. An allergy or a distaste, it doesn't matter. A sandwich without mayonnaise. He returns to school. The security guard at the gate is already used to him. He nods. Han goes up to the third floor, the library. Saren is sitting in the far corner. A single lamp is lit above her table. It's quiet around her. Han places the sandwich on the edge of the table. Next to it, a note, a small piece of paper, 4 words. Don't stay late tomorrow. You'll win even without the last article. He leaves, doesn't look back, goes down the stairs, steps out onto the street. The night air is cold. He walks to the bus stop, unaware that back in the library, Yoon Se-rin is holding the sandwich with both hands, unable to eat it because she can't see it through her tears. In her 17 years of life, no one has ever noticed that she doesn't like mayonnaise. No one has ever come to the library at 10 o'clock at night to bring her food. No one wrote her a note saying she would win. She sits and cries quietly. Then she eats. Then she wipes her eyes. She folds the note and puts it in the pocket of her uniform. She'll keep it there until the end of the year. But Han doesn't know that. He stands at the stop and counts down the minutes until the bus arrives. Friday of the 3rd week, morning. Han steps out of the building and freezes halfway. He doesn't stop completely. He freezes inside. Across the street stands a man eating noodles from a plastic container. Spicy ones. Han can smell the pepper from 15 meters away. Ko Chang-ho, the bear. He isn't hiding. He's standing by the food cart, eating and watching the building entrance. Watching Han. His face is calm. The scar on his chin is white in the morning light. He's watching openly. That means he isn't sure yet. If he were sure, he wouldn't be standing here with noodles. He'd be standing behind the apartment door with a knife. Han walks to the bus stop, his usual stride. Relaxed shoulders, phone in his hand, earbuds in his ears. The music isn't playing, but Bear can't see that. Han waits for the bus. Bear finishes his noodles. He throws away the container. He walks off in the other direction. He shouldn't. For now. Khan gets on the bus and weighs his options. Bear saw him, saw a 17-year-old boy with a backpack and headphones, saw slumped shoulders and a sluggish gait, saw an ordinary schoolboy. Operation Mirror is working, but one observation isn't enough. The bear will keep watching. He'll check. We need to give him more material. We need him to observe and see nothing but boredom. At school, Han experiences the most ordinary day of his new life. Math. He gets 2 problems wrong. Korean. He writes a mediocre essay. English. Ms. Sansanim walks by. Today, she smells of perfume, not grease. Han takes note. During recess, he stands in the hallway with Emily. She talks about Boston, about the school where she studied, about her father, who's talking about moving again, now Singapore, or Dubai. She doesn't know. She doesn't care. She says this in a light tone, but Han hears a crack in her voice. A small one, a thin one, like in a glass that hasn't broken yet, but is about to. He listens, doesn't interrupt. He doesn't give advice. He just listens. Emily stops mid-sentence, looks at him, says he's listening strangely, as if he's genuinely interested. Han says he is genuinely interested. Emily looks at him for another 3 seconds. Then she turns away. She says she has to go to class. She leaves quickly. Han stands there and thinks that this girl runs away every time someone gets too close. Not physically, emotionally. She's learned not to get attached because attachment means pain when someone leaves. Han knows. He hasn't gotten attached for 30 years for the same reason. Lunch. Han is sitting in the cafeteria. Ha-in approaches his table for the first time. She stands there with the tray and asks if she can sit down. Han nods. She sits down. She eats in silence. On the tray is rice and soup, real food. She started eating after his takeout containers, 3 containers in 3 days, and she started getting food in the dining hall. A small step, but a step. Hyun says quietly that she knows the containers are from him. Han doesn't answer. Hyun says she recognized them by the rice. He cuts carrots the same way. Thin strips, in the container and on his own tray. Han looks at his tray. The carrots are cut into thin strips. A professional habit from the restaurant kitchen in Lyon. He didn't even notice. A mistake. A small one, but Hyun noticed. He says he just had some left over and didn't want to throw it away. Hyun nods. She doesn't believe him, but she accepts it. She says thank you, very quietly, almost in a whisper, and continues eating. After lunch, Han walks down the 2nd-floor hallway. He passes the art class. The door is open. Inside is Shin Da-hyun, Da-hyun, alone, sitting at an easel, drawing. Han stops. From the hallway, he sees the canvas. Da-hyun is drawing a building, low, gray, no windows on the first floor, with antennas on the roof. Han knows this building. It's Building B at the training base near Suwon. He was there once. Second floor. A room with mirrored walls. That's where they conducted the tests, physical and psychological. Da-hyun is painting a building she can't remember, but she paints it accurately. Every detail is in place. The antennas, the doors, even the crack in the wall of the left wing that Han remembers because he leaned against it while waiting for the supervisor for 20 minutes in 91. Her memory hasn't been erased. It's locked away, and drawing is the key she doesn't know she's holding in her hands. Han leaves, quietly. She doesn't see him, he thinks. If her memory returns uncontrollably, it will be dangerous for her. The memory of an operative in the mind of a girl who doesn't know she's an operative is a bomb without a fuse. She needs help. Careful. Slow. But first he needs to understand who she was before the program, what her profile was, what skills, what was erased, and what remains. And most importantly, does the school principal know that she draws buildings that don't exist in any architecture textbook? After school, Han doesn't go home. He takes a detour. He walks to the building across from the school, an office complex, 4 stories. He remembered it on the first day. A good vantage point for watching the school. If anyone is watching Chongyang from outside, they'll be here. Han enters the building, the lobby, security, a turnstile. He approaches the desk and asks about office rentals. The receptionist hands him a brochure. Han takes it and walks to the elevator. He presses the 4th floor. He gets out. The hallway. Office doors. Most are closed. He walks down the hallway and looks at the signs. An accounting firm. Language school. Insurance company. The last office in the corner. The sign is new. Consulting firm. A name that means nothing. Khan approaches the door. It's locked. He bends down. A crack under the door. The light isn't on, but he smells something. Coffee. Fresh. Someone was here recently. Khan straightens up and walks away. He's found a lookout point, a consulting firm on the 4th floor overlooking the school. NIS, or the office, or a third party. He goes down to the 1st floor and steps outside. On the street, he turns around and looks up at the 4th floor windows. The corner window. The blinds are closed. But one slat is bent back, just enough to see the school, just enough to remain unseen from the street. Professional work. Han turns away and walks toward the subway. Now he knows 4 things. First, Ko Chang-ho is watching his apartment. Second, someone is watching the school from the office building. Third, Moon Seon-sengnim is inside the school. Fourth, Cho Seon-sengnim is also inside the school. 4 observers, at least 2 organizations, maybe 3, and he's alone in the middle, with a backpack and an algebra textbook. Evening, the apartment. Han is cooking rice. He eats. He thinks. He needs to solve the problem with Bear before Bear gets confirmation. Operation Mirror was working, but not fast enough. Ko Chang-ho will be watching for another week. During that week, Han could slip up. One careless move, one reflex that's a split second too fast, and Bear will figure it out. He needs to speed things up. He needs to give Bear a reason to leave, not a false alarm, a real reason. Han lies down on the mattress and stares at the ceiling. He thinks for 2 hours. Then he smiles. For the first time in 3 weeks, he has a plan. Dirty, risky, but a plan. Tuesday of the 4th week. Khan begins to carry out the plan. Step 1. He takes his usual route to school, the bus, the stop, the gate. But on the way, he does one thing. He takes out his phone and opens the Messenger app. He sends a message to a number he made up from digits he memorized from a lab assistant's ID badge. The number belongs to the office's internal network. Han knows the format. He's worked in this system for 30 years. The message is short. Object 07, Suwon. Activity, no signature, no name, just information fed into the system. Object 07 is the code number for the Halmeny program base. Suwon is the base's location. Activity means someone is doing something there.
Han sends the message from a disposable number. He tosses the SIM card into a trash can by the school gates. Why? Because the office will receive this message and start investigating. If something is indeed happening at the Suwon base, they'll redirect resources. If Bear is the only operative in Seoul, they'll recall him to check the base. If nothing is happening at the base, they'll waste time on the investigation. Either way, Han gains at least a week. Step 2. School. Han acts as normal as possible. But he adds a detail. During recess, he approaches Cho Sun-senim and asks about the sports club. He says he wants to sign up for running. Cho Sun-senim looks at him. Han stands slumped over, hands in his pockets. His gaze is unfocused, the complete opposite of the boy who ran effortlessly 2 weeks ago. Cho Sun-senim says the club meets on Tuesdays and Thursdays after school. Han thanks him. He leaves. Why is this necessary? Because an ordinary student signing up for the running club is normal. It's boring. It's exactly what Bear should see if he's watching the school. And if Cho Sun-senim passes the information to the NIS will also see an ordinary boy who wants to run. Not a threat, not a target, just a boy. Third period, English. Moon Seon-seungnim hands out tests. Han takes the test, intentionally aiming for 72 out of 100, average. Moon collects the papers. She walks past his desk. Today she smells only of perfume, no grease. Han thinks, maybe the grease was an accident, maybe not. He can't afford to ignore it. At lunch, Yuna sits down next to him, silently. She sets down her tray. She eats. 3 minutes later, she says she signed up for boxing. Not school boxing, the real thing. A club in Itaewon. Han eats and listens. Yuna says the coach is old and mean and makes her work on the punching bag for 2 hours straight. Han asks if the coach teaches defense. Yuna is silent. Then she says she doesn't like defense. Han puts down his chopsticks. He looks at her. He says one sentence. He says that offense without defense isn't a fight. It's asking to get hit. Yuna freezes. Her eyes harden. She wants to snap back, but she doesn't. She silently gets up and walks away. Han knows he's hit the nail on the head. She doesn't go into fights to win. She goes in to get hit, because the pain in her body drowns out the pain in her head. He knew that before he said it. He said it because someone had to. After lunch, Han takes step 3. He finds Emily in the hallway and asks if she knows any good places in Seoul. Emily looks at him suspiciously. She asks why. Han says he's from Busan and doesn't know the city. Emily says she doesn't know either. She's been here 4 months. Han says maybe they can look together. Emily is silent for 2 seconds. That's a long time for her. She usually answers instantly. 2 seconds of silence mean he surprised her. She says she'll think about it. She walks away. Han doesn't follow her. He isn't trying to be her friend. He's trying to give her a reason to stay. A small one, an easy one, a list of places worth seeing. He's already compiling it in his head. 20 places. For her. For the girl who never stays anywhere long enough to fall in love with the city. After school, Han goes to track practice. The field. 12 students. Coach Cho in a tracksuit. Han runs. At a moderate pace. Keeping his heart rate at 140, he doesn't be distracted. After practice, Coach Cho approaches him. He says Han has decent stamina for a beginner. Han thanks him. Coach Cho looks at him for another 3 seconds, then he lets him go. Han walks away and thinks. 3 seconds is a long time. Choi Sun-senim hasn't lost interest yet. He needs more time. Evening. Apartment. Han checks the camera. Footage from the last 3 nights. Ko Chung-ho hasn't come by. Not a single visit since Sunday. This could mean 2 things. Either he's switched to daytime surveillance and only comes to the building in the morning, or he received a message about Suwon and left to check it out. Han can't be sure, but the absence of nighttime visits is a good sign. The plan is working. Maybe. Han sits down and opens his notebook. He writes a list. 20 places in Seoul. For Emily. Number 1. A bookstore in Hongdae that stays open until 3 in the morning. She loves to read. He saw 3 books in her backpack. All in English. All different. Number 2. A rooftop cafe in Ihadong with a view of the whole city. She loves heights. He saw her choose a window seat on the top floor. Always. Number 3.
The park by the Cheonggyecheon stream. It's quiet there in the evening. She gets tired of the noise. He saw her wince when it was too loud in the hallway. 20 places. Each one was chosen because he'd been watching her for 3 days and knows exactly what she'll want to see. Not the popular spots from the guidebook. Her places. For her. He writes a short note for each one. Why this particular place? Why her? He puts the list in a small notebook he bought at a stationery store near the subway. Tomorrow he'll put it on her desk. Unsigned. Han closes the notebook and lies down. It's quiet outside the window. Ko Chang-ho doesn't come. Han falls asleep and for the first time in a week doesn't dreams. Wednesday morning. Han places the notebook on Emily's desk before class starts. He sits down at his own desk. He waits. Emily arrives. She sits down. She sees the notebook, opens it, reads. Han doesn't look, but he hears her stop turning the pages on the 3rd page. Then she turns the pages further, slowly, to the end, closes it. She's silent for the entire first class. During recess, she walks over to him. She stands next to him. She's silent for 10 seconds. Then she says that number 14 doesn't work for her because she doesn't like fish. Han says he'll swap it for a spot with meat. Emily says she's already seen number 7. Han says that in that case, she'll go at night. It's different there at night. Emily looks at him. Her eyes are shining. She isn't crying. She isn't the type to cry, but there's a glint. She says that no one has ever made a list for her before. Han says it's just a list. Emily says no. It's not just a list, and she leaves. Quickly, as always. She runs away before things get too close, but she takes the notebook with her. Han sits at his desk and feels a warmth in his chest that has nothing to do with the temperature of the air. Hormones, or maybe not hormones. He's not sure anymore. The day goes on. Lunch, classes, track practice. After practice, Han leaves school and sees a black car. The same one. Hyundai. Tinted windows. The left headlight is dimmer than the right. It's parked in the same spot as 2 weeks ago. But today the engine isn't running. The car is empty. Han walks past. He looks at the windshield. A pass is lying on the dashboard. Han can't read it from this distance, but he sees the color. Blue. With a silver stripe. He knows this format. NIS, a level 3 internal pass. Operational staff. Han walks past without stopping. Now he knows for sure. The car belongs to NIS. Level 3 means not an analyst, a field agent, maybe Supervisor Moon Seon Nim, maybe someone higher up. Leaving the pass on the dashboard is a mistake, or a trap. If it's a trap, that means they want someone to see it and react. Test. Han doesn't react. He walks to the bus. He goes home. That evening, he checks the camera. Empty. Ko Chang-ho hasn't shown up for 4 nights in a row. The message about Suwon worked. Bear left to check the base. Or he was recalled. In any case, one of the 3 problems is temporarily solved. 2 remain. NIS inside and outside the school. And somewhere far away, Song Tae-hyun, who will come on his own sooner or later. Han lies down on the mattress. He closes his eyes. He thinks about the 6 girls who don't know that the man next to them every day is waging a war they can't see. He thinks about Saren, who carries his note in her uniform pocket. About Minsu, who touches her hairpin every 10 minutes. About Hyun, who has started eating. About Yoon, who fell silent after his words about protection. About Emily, who took the notebook and didn't return it. About Da-hyun, who draws buildings from someone else's memory. 6 girls, 6 reasons why Colonel Han can't just disappear and start over in another city. He could. He knows how to disappear better than anyone. But he won't leave. For the first time in 67 years, he won't leave. And that scares him more than the bear and the NIS and Sun Tae-hyun combined. Friday of the 4th week, a month at Chongyang School. Han stands by the window on the 3rd floor and looks out at the parking lot. The black NIS car hasn't shown up in 2 days. Ko Chan-anho hasn't been seen in a week. Silence. Han doesn't trust silence. The silence before an operation always meant that someone has moved from the observation phase to the preparation phase. But as long as it's quiet, he can work. First period, math. Han solves equations and thinks about Da-hyun. For the past week, he's walked past the art class every day. she paints every day. Mountains, buildings, hallways. Yesterday she drew a face, a woman's, around 50 years old, short hair, stern eyes. Han doesn't know this face, but he knows the type, a curator, a mentor, a person who gave orders. Da-hyun is drawing her supervisor from the program. The memories are breaking through more and more strongly. It's dangerous. If she starts remembering faster than he can control it, everything will collapse. She needs help. But what kind of help can he offer a girl who doesn't know she's a former operative? Walk up to her and say, "You're not who you think you are? Your drawings aren't fantasy, they're memories. You were a test subject in a secret program, and they erased your memory." She'll think he's crazy, or she'll be scared, or both. He needs another way. During recess, Han goes to the art room. Da-hyun is gone. An easel stands against the wall. The canvas is turned toward the wall. Han turns it around. A woman's face, detailed, professional. Da-hyun draws better than any student in this school, better than most professional artists. Her hands remember the training her brain has forgotten. Han pulls a small piece of paper out of his pocket. He's drawn a landscape on it. Simple, a mountain, a river at its base, a village. The same view Da-hyun drew, but from a different angle. From the perspective of someone standing not at the foot of the mountain, but at the summit. Han was on that summit in '91. He's a poor artist. The lines are crooked, the proportions are off, but it's recognizable. He places the piece of paper in Da-hyun's sketchbook, between the pages. She'll find it when she's flipping through the pages. She'll see the mountain she draws herself, but from a different angle. It will raise a question, not an answer. A question. Who is drawing the same mountains as she is? Who was there? This is the first fragment. Small, safe. He won't tell her anything. He'll slip in fragments, slowly, one at a time, until she begins to piece the picture together herself. Lunch. Han is sitting in the dining hall. 3 people approach him at once. Yuna sits on his left, Haeyeon on his right, Minsu across from him. They didn't plan it. They each came on their own, but all to him. Yuna eats in silence. Hyun eats slowly. Minsu speaks for all 3. She talks about the festival. The committee approved the cafe. Class 2B is opening a cafe at the school festival. Minsu is in charge of organizing. Han is in the kitchen. We need a menu. They need ingredients. They need a budget. Han listens and nods. He can feed 300 people by himself. He did it in Lyon in '98 when the restaurant's head chef fell ill an hour before the banquet. And Han, who was working as a sous chef undercover, pulled off the entire evening single-handedly. 280 guests, 4 shifts of people, not a single complaint. But Han Ji-won from Busan doesn't know how to cook professionally. Han Ji-won from Busan knows a little. Rice, scrambled eggs, ramen. He'll say he learned from his mom before she died. That'll explain the basic skills. He'll blame the rest on YouTube. Minsu takes notes. Ha-in offers to help with the decor. Yuna says she'll stand at the entrance and keep an eye on things. Han looks at the 3 of them and feels something strange. Not warmth, not tenderness. Something deeper. A feeling he hasn't experienced in 30 years. Belonging. He sits at a table with 3 girls who came to him on their own, and he doesn't have to do anything to make them stay. They're just here, with him. 67 years of loneliness, and here he is, sitting in the school cafeteria, and he has a table where they're waiting for him. Colonel Han didn't know this feeling. Han Ji-won is studying. After lunch, Emily catches him in the hallway. She says she's checked off 3 items on the list. Number 1, the bookstore in Hongdae. She spent 4 hours there, found the book she'd been looking for 2 years. Number 7, the park by the river. She went in the evening. It was quiet. She sat on the bridge and listened to the water. Number 12, the Museum of Modern Art. She saw an exhibition that made her stand in front of one painting for 20 minutes. Han listens. Emily speaks quickly, nervously. She isn't used to sharing, but she shares. Then she falls silent. She says she'll save number 20 for later. Han asks why. Emily says that number 20 is a spot where you can see the airport, and the note says she should go there on the day she decides to stay. She hasn't decided yet, but she carries the notebook with her every day. Han nods. He says nothing. Emily leaves, quickly, as always. But this time she turns around at the classroom door. For a second, a glance back. Not to check, not out of fear, just a look at the person she doesn't want to lose sight of. Han sees this and feels something tighten in his chest. He turns away. He goes to class. Evening. The apartment. Han checks the camera. Empty. The 8th night without Ko Chang-ho. The bear is gone. Suwon worked. Han allows himself to breathe out. One threat neutralized. Temporarily. The bear will return when he realizes the message was a false alarm. But that won't be for a week, maybe 2. Time. Han sits on the floor and takes out his laptop. He searches for information on the principal of Chungyong School, Park Jung-soo, 63 years old. Former professor at Seoul National University. Specialization, neurobiology. Neurobiology. Han freezes. A neurobiologist running a private school. That's not a normal career path. Professors don't become school principals unless the school is something more than just a school. Han digs deeper. Park Soo. Publications. 32 scientific articles. 21 on neurobiology. 11 are classified. Han cannot access the classified ones but sees the dates. From 1994 to 2008. 14 years. The period coincides with the active phase of the Halmyoni program. Park Jung-soo isn't just a school principal. Park Jung-soo is the creator of the program, or one of its creators. Chongyong isn't just an elite school. It's an incubator, a place where the program continues under the guise of education. Da-hyun isn't here by chance. She was placed here. The principal knows who she is, knows what she draws, knows that her memory is returning, and he's watching. Han closes his laptop. He stands up. He walks over to the window. He looks out at the city. Everything has gotten more complicated, much more complicated. He isn't just a fugitive operative hiding in a school. He's a fugitive operative hiding in the lair of those who created him. Monday of the 5th week. 2 weeks until the school festival. Han stands in the teacher's lounge and waits for the vice principal. He needs permission to use the school kitchen to prepare for the festival. The vice principal is left. Han stands and waits. The door to the principal's office is ajar. Han doesn't go over, but his hearing works at a distance that ordinary people consider impossible. 30 years of training. He hears Park Jung-soo's voice. The principal is talking on the phone, quietly, but Han makes out every word. Park Jung-soo says the subject is stable. He says the behavioral patterns are normal. He says that cognitive regression is minimal. He's talking about Da-hyun. Han is certain. The subject is stable. Cognitive regression is minimal. Medical terms. The language of a scientist, not a principal. Park Jung-soo is reporting to someone on Da-hyun's condition. To whom? To someone higher up than the school principal, who serves as a cover for the secret project. A shadow cabinet. An alliance of oligarchs and old generals. Those who funded the program. Those for whom the program was creating not operatives, but heirs. Perfect children for the families who rule the country. Han stands in the teacher's lounge, breathing evenly. 70 beats per minute. Control. The office door closes. A minute later, the vice principal comes out. He signs the permission slip. Han thanks him and leaves. In the hallway, he stops by the window and closes his eyes for 3 seconds. Park Jung-soo, the principal, a neuroscientist, the creator of the program. Da-hyun's supervisor, the man who knows everything. And Han walks past his office every day. If Park Jung-soo recognizes him, if he connects the new student with Colonel Han, then it will all end quickly and quietly. The director won't call the NIS. The director won't call the office. The director will call the people higher up. And those people solve problems so thoroughly that not even a trace of the problem remains. Han opens his eyes and goes to class. Tuesday, track practice. Han runs, average. Coach Cho stands by the track and watches the stopwatch. Han finishes 5th out of 12. Coach Cho records the time. He doesn't look at Han. Good. The interest has faded, or gone into hiding. After practice, Han heads to the locker room. Da-hyun is standing in the hallway outside the gym. She's looking at the wall. On the wall is the sports department's bulletin board. Photos, trophies, schedules. Da-hyun stares at one photo. Han steps closer. A photo of the school archery team. From 3 years ago. 8 students with bows. Da-hyun stares at the photo without blinking. Han stands next to her. He says nothing. 30 seconds later, Da-hyun says she thinks she knows how to shoot. The first words he's heard from her in 5 weeks. Her voice is quiet, low for a girl.
Han says there's a club at school. Da-hyun says she didn't sign up. But when she looks at the bow, it feels like her hands know what to do. Han is silent for 3 seconds. Then he says that sometimes the body remembers things the brain never learned. Muscle memory. Maybe she practiced as a child and forgot. Da-hyun turns to him. For the first time, she looks him in the eyes. Her gaze is empty and full at the same time. Empty because there's nothing on the surface. Full because beneath the surface lies a whole life she doesn't remember. Han holds her gaze. He's seen it in the mirror every morning.
Da-hyun says that's how it is with so many things for her. Her hands know, her head doesn't. Then she turns away and leaves. Han stands in the hallway and feels his throat tighten. Not from fear, from something else. This girl is lost. Not in the city, within herself. Everything that made her who she was has been erased, and she walks through school like a ghost of her own life. And no one notices. No one except him. Wednesday. Han comes to school with 2 lunch boxes, one for Ha-in. He sets the second one on Da-hyun's desk. Rice, tofu, sesame vegetables. He doesn't know what she likes. He only knows that she eats alone in the cafeteria and takes the smallest portion. Da-hyun arrives. She sees the container, opens it, looks inside, doesn't look around, doesn't look for who left it, just eats, quietly. Han watches out of the corner of his eye. She eats slowly, thoughtfully, as if tasting each flavor separately. When she tastes the tofu, she pauses. The chopsticks freeze halfway to her mouth. She looks at the piece of tofu and her brow furrows slightly. She remembers something, the taste, the smell, the moment. Then the frown smooths out and she continues eating. Khan looks away. Taste works. Taste and smell are the most ancient channels of memory. They are stored deeper than words and images. If anything can break through the wall of erasure, it is the food she ate before the program. Khan doesn't know what she ate, but he will try. Every day, different dishes, different flavors. Sooner or later, he'll get it right. Thursday, debate club. Topic: freedom of choice. Can a person be free if they don't know the whole truth about themselves? Han sits and watches Da-hyun. She isn't at the club. She's in art class, but the topic hits him right in the chest. Freedom of choice. Da-hyun isn't free because she doesn't know who she is. He isn't free because he knows too much. Se-in is leading the discussion. She stands in front of the group and speaks confidently, clearly. Every argument is well structured. Every word is in its place. Han looks at her and doesn't see the class president. He sees a leader, a person who, in 10 years, will stand before an audience of 1,000 people and speak just like this, if she's given the chance. If her father stops seeing her as just a grade and starts seeing her as a person. Se-in finishes. She looks at Han. He didn't speak today. She doesn't ask why. After club, she approaches him. She says she has the city debate finals tomorrow. She says she's nervous. Han looks at her. Se-in, who is never nervous, is nervous. And she tells him, not a friend, not a teacher, him. Han says she'll win. Se-in asks how he knows. Han says he saw how she thinks, saw how she builds her arguments, saw how she pauses before a key phrase. He says that someone who masters silence like that can't lose a debate. Se-in is silent. Then she speaks softly. She says he sees things that no one else sees. Han says he's just observant. Se-in smiles. For the second time ever, a little wider than the first. She turns and walks away. Han stands there and counts his pulse. 83. A record. An absolutely shameful record. She smiled, and his heart is pounding at 83 beats per minute. Colonel Han, whose pulse didn't flutter under a sniper's fire in Mosul. 83 because of a 17-year-old girl's smile. Friday, Se-in wins the debate. Han finds out from Min-soo, who shouts it to the whole hallway. Se-in returns to school with the trophy. Han sees her at the entrance. She's carrying the trophy and looking for someone with her eyes. She's looking for him. She finds him. She nods, barely noticeably. He nods back. 2 nods from 20 meters away. No one notices, but they both know. Evening, apartment. Han sits and makes a plan for the next 2 weeks. Festival, cafe, kitchen. He has to cook well, but not too well. Just enough to be tasty, not enough to arouse suspicion. Balance. His whole life is balance. He lies down and thinks about Sun Tae-hyun. A month of silence. Tae-hyun hasn't shown up. Didn't send anyone. left no traces. That means he's waiting. Taehyun has always been patient, the most patient person Han has ever known. He could wait a year, 2, until the target lets his guard down, until he believes the danger has passed, and then he would come, quietly, in person, with a smile that meant nothing. Han won't let his guard down, but the girls make it harder. Every smile from Saren, every container Ha-in returns empty, every time Minsu touches her hairpin, every evening when Yuna sits next to him and stays silent, every glance Emily casts over her shoulder, every drawing by Da-hyun, they make him soft, slow, human. And for Colonel Han, humanity is vulnerability, and vulnerability is death. But he can't stop. He doesn't want to, and that's the difference between Colonel Han and Han Ji-won. The Colonel could, Ji-won can't. Saturday, 1 week until the festival. Han has been at school since early morning. The cafeteria kitchen is open for the committee. Minsu brought the groceries. Hyun brought the tablecloths. Yuna hauled in a speaker for music. Emily came because she was bored. Saren came because she's the class president and has to be everywhere. Da-hyun didn't come. Han is working in the kitchen. He put together the menu for the week. Omu rice, kimbap, tteokbokki. Simple dishes, popular ones, easy to cook in large quantities. He's testing the recipes. Minsu stands nearby and tastes it. She says the omu rice is delicious, but something is missing. Han adds a pinch of sugar to the ketchup. Minsu tastes it again. Her eyes widen. She asks how he knows that. Han says he saw it in a video. Minsu doesn't believe him but doesn't argue. Ha-yeon helps cut the vegetables. Han notices that she's cutting unevenly and struggling. He walks over, takes her hand, places it correctly on the knife, shows her the motion, slowly, once. Ha-in tries. It turns out better. She smiles, a small smile, the first one Han has seen from her. Not polite, not rehearsed, real. Yuna isn't cooking. Yuna is sitting at the counter eating everything Han makes. She says it's her job, quality control. Han doesn't argue. Yuna eats and, for the first time in 5 weeks, looks relaxed. Not on edge, not standing at attention. Just a girl sitting in the kitchen, eating. Emily stands by the window reading a book. From time to time, she looks at them. At how they work together. At how Minsu laughs. At how Ha-in tries. At how Yuna steals food. Emily doesn't join them, but she doesn't leave either. She stands on the border between inside and outside. As always, Han brings her a plate, omu rice. She takes it, eats, silently, then says it's the best omu rice she's ever had, and that number 19 on the list turned out to be excellent too. Han nods. Saren comes in with the documents, the budget, the schedule, kitchen shifts. She organizes everything. Han watches her work and thinks she'd make an excellent field commander. Structure, priorities, delegation. She does it intuitively. Saren sits down next to him at the table and checks the lists. Their shoulders almost touch. Han feels the warmth of her hand 2 centimeters away. 2 centimeters. He could kill a person from 2,400 meters away, but the 2 centimeters to Yoon Saren's shoulder is a distance he cannot bridge. Idiot. In the afternoon, Da-hyun arrives, silently. She stands in the kitchen doorway. Everyone turns around. Minsu says hello. Ha-in smiles. Yuna nods. Emily raises an eyebrow. Saren says she's glad to see her. Da-hyun stands there, not moving. She doesn't know what to do. She isn't used to being part of something. Han picks up a spare apron and hands it to her. He doesn't say anything. He just hands it to her. Da-hyun looks at the apron, then at Han. Then she takes it, puts it on, stands next to Hyun, starts cutting vegetables, silently. But she's here. For the first time in 5 weeks, she's not alone. Han turns toward the stove and blinks faster than usual. Something got in his eye. Steam from the pot, probably. Evening. Everyone leaves. Han stays to clean up. He washes the dishes, wipes down the counters, turns off the stove, leaves the school. Cho Sonsanim is standing on the porch. He's smoking. He sees Han. Han sees him. 2 people on the porch of an empty school on a Saturday evening. Cho Sonsanim takes a drag and says Han stayed late. Han says he was cleaning the kitchen. Cho Sonsanim nods. Then he speaks quietly. He says Han has an interesting way of moving.
very economical, not a single wasted movement, like someone who was taught not to waste energy. Han feels his body temperature drop a degree. Outwardly, nothing changes. He says he practiced Taekwondo in Busan for 2 years. Then he quit. Cho Sansanim finishes his cigarette, stubs it out, stares at Han for 5 seconds. 5 long seconds during which Han feels every beat of his heart. Then, Cho Sansanim says goodnight and leaves. Han stands on the porch and breathes. Cho Sansanim didn't believe him. Taekwondo doesn't explain his movements. Taekwondo is about sharp strikes and high stances. Han moves like a man accustomed to close-quarters combat in tight spaces. These are different schools. As a former Special Forces operative, Cho Sansanim knows the difference. Han made another mistake. His body gives him away every time he loses control. In the kitchen, he relaxed. He moved naturally. He sliced. He turned. He grabbed objects. Everything was clean. Everything was economical. Everything was professional, and Cho Sansanim saw it. Han walks toward the bus and thinks, Cho Sansanim is becoming a problem, not because he's dangerous, but because he's observant and honest. He's not a bad person. He's a man who does his duty. If he passes his observations on to the NIS, the analysts will start digging, and then Han Ji-won's mask from Busan will start to crack. Something needs to be done, not elimination. Han doesn't kill the innocent. He never has, not even when ordered to. That's why they wrote him off. We need to outmaneuver him. But how do you outmaneuver a man who looks at you and sees the truth? Evening, apartment. Han lies on the mattress and thinks. 1 week until the festival. After the festival, the first semester ends in a month. If he can hold out for 2 months, 60 days. The break will give him time to disappear and regroup. 60 days. Ko Chang-ho is on inspection in Suwon. The NIS is watching but not acting. Chae Son-senim suspects but isn't sure. Director Park Jung-soo doesn't know about him. For now, Song Tae-hyun is silent. 60 days. He'll hold out. He has to hold out. Friday, festival day. Chongyong School is buzzing like a beehive. The hallways are decorated. Music is coming from every classroom. Laughter, shouts, the smell of food. Han is standing in the cafeteria kitchen wearing an apron stained with ketchup, cooking. He's been cooking for 3 hours now, alone. Min-soo was supposed to help but went to greet the guests. Ha-yoon was supposed to chop vegetables but was called away by the agency manager. Yuna stands at the cafe entrance and turns away anyone trying to cut in line. Emily is carrying trays. Saren is coordinating everything. Da-hyun sits in the corner of the cafe and the sign they didn't have time to finish. Han is alone in the kitchen, and he's fine with that. The kitchen is his space. It always has been. Even when he was killing people for breakfast and making bechamel sauce for lunch. 3 hours, 120 servings, omu rice, kimbap, tteokbokki. Every serving is perfect. Not restaurant quality, school quality, but on the edge where school food becomes something greater. He keeps himself in check, doesn't go all out, doesn't carve flowers out of carrots, doesn't add secret ingredients. Ordinary food, just very well prepared. The line at the cafe is growing. 150 servings, 200. Han cooks faster. His hands move on autopilot. Rice, egg, ketchup, rice, egg, ketchup, 250. At some point, he stops counting and just cooks. His 17-year-old body can handle it. Young muscles, quick hands. He doesn't get tired. He feels alive. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, director Park Jung-soo arrives. Han sees him through the serving window. Short, gray-haired, glasses with thin frames, eyes like a man who's used to looking at the brain rather than the face. The director takes a tray, sits down, eats omu rice. Han watches. Park Jung-soo eats slowly, closes his eyes for a second, opens them, looks at his plate. Then he looks at the kitchen, at Han. Through the serving window, 3 seconds. Han holds his gaze. Smile number 3, a timid newcomer. The director nods, turns away, finishes eating, leaves. Han exhales. He passed, maybe. Park Jung-soo didn't recognize him. He wasn't supposed to. Colonel Han never met the program's creators in person. He was recruited by supervisors. The operation was performed by surgeons. He didn't see the scientists, but the scientists saw his data. His brain was scanned. His memory was mapped. If Park Jung-soo has access to that data, and if he's observant enough, he might notice. Not the face. The face is different, but the pattern, the way he moves, the way he looks. Han washes his hands and continues cooking.
300 servings. By 4 o'clock, he leaves the kitchen. His apron is stained. His hands smell of rice and sesame oil. He sits down at an empty table in the corner of the cafe. It's the first time he sat down in 7 hours. His legs are buzzing. His back aches. But his stomach is empty. He forgot to eat. Colonel Han never forgot to eat. Colonel Han ate on a schedule. Han Ji-won forgot because he was cooking for 300 people and thinking about the 6 girls, and he forgot about himself. This is new. This is strange. 5 minutes later, a plate appears in front of him. Omurice, his own recipe. He looks up. Saren. She's standing there with a tray. She says he hasn't eaten all day. She sits down across from him. Min-soo appears beside her with 2 glasses of juice. Hyun brings kimbap. Yuna sets the tteokbokki on the table. Emily places a napkin. Dahyun silently sets a glass of water next to it. 6 girls. All 6 of them. They brought him his portion. The food he'd cooked for everyone but forgot for himself. Han looks at the plate, at the glasses, at the faces around him. 6 pairs of eyes. 6 different gazes. Saren looks calm. Min-soo smiles. Hyun blushes. Yuna pretends she doesn't care. Emily raises an eyebrow. Dahyun just stands nearby. Han picks up his chopsticks. He eats. The rice is hot. The egg is tender. Ketchup with sugar. His own food, cooked with his own hands, and brought by people he's known for 6 weeks and who have become everything to him. He eats and doesn't look up because if he does, they'll see that his eyelashes are wet, and that can't be explained away by ketchup. Evening. The festival is ending. Fireworks in the courtyard. Everyone goes out to watch. Han climbs onto the roof. He needs a minute. 1 minute alone with himself. He stands at the railing and looks out over Seoul. The city lights. Fireworks below. School children shouting and laughing. An ordinary evening. An ordinary school. An ordinary life he never had. A door opens behind him. Han doesn't turn around. He knows who it is. Footsteps, heavy, confident, expensive shoes, not school shoes, men's shoes. The scent of cologne, expensive, not Korean, French. Han knows this cologne. He bought the same one 20 years ago at a duty-free shop in Charles de Gaulle. Sun Tae-hyun stops 3 meters behind him. Han turns around. A man, 52 years old, graying temples, a suit, a festival guest badge. The parent, Lee Tae-hyun. The name is fake. The face is real. The face Han saw last before he died in Almaty. Tae-hyun smiles, that very smile, soft, warm, completely empty. He says the apron suits Han. Han doesn't move, hands at his sides, relaxed, ready. Tae-hyun says he's been looking for him for 6 months, that he didn't believe it when they told him the target had escaped, that he didn't believe it when they told him the target had enrolled in school. Tae-hyun laughs quietly. He says it's the funniest cover the colonel has ever chosen. Han is silent. Tae-hyun takes a step closer, 2 meters. He says he didn't come to kill, not yet. He says he came to look. Han asks what he's looking at. Tae-hyun says his face. He says he wanted to see what Colonel Han looked like at 17. He says he's impressed. Youth suits him. Han says Tae-hyun looks good playing the father. He asks whose child he registered as his own to get the badge. Tae-hyun smiles. He says they'll meet again, Colonel. He turns around. He walks toward the door. Han calls out to him. He says Tae-hyun never had any children. He says he remembers because one night in Prague, Tae-hyun got drunk and said that was the only thing he regretted. Tae-hyun stops. He doesn't turn around. He stands there for 3 seconds. Then he opens the door and leaves. Han stays on the roof. His hands are shaking, not from fear, from adrenaline. His 17-year-old body is pumping out so much adrenaline that his hands are trembling. The colonel wouldn't be shaking. Han Ji-won is shaking. Someone calls out to him from below. Voices. 6 voices. They brought him his portion of omurice because he left without finishing it. They're standing by the staircase to the roof, shouting his name. Han Ji-won, Han Ji-won, come down. There are fireworks. Han looks down at them from above. 6 girls with a plate of omurice, fireworks behind them, Seoul all around, and he's on the roof, alone, with the memory of the 116 people he's killed and the 6 he wants to protect. For the first time in 40 years, he feels like he has something to lose, and it's the scariest feeling in the world, scarier than any sniper. Han comes down, he takes a plate, he eats. Next to them, under the fireworks, and none of the 6 sees that his hands are still shaking. 3 weeks after the festival, the end of the first semester, Han sits at a desk in an empty classroom and takes a math exam. There are 27 students around him. Silence. The scratching of pencils. Outside the window, December Seoul. Gray. Cold. Han solves equations and thinks about 3 things at once. First, Ko Chang-ho has returned from Suwon. Han found out yesterday. The camera at the entrance captured him at 2 in the morning. He stood at the entrance for 4 minutes. Then he left. He came back angry. Suwon was a dead end, and he realized it. Now he knows that someone was distracting him. That makes him more dangerous. Before, he was searching. Now he's hunting. Second, Choi Son-sim submitted his resignation. Han found out from Saren, who saw the document on the vice principal's desk. The physical education teacher is resigning at the end of the semester. The official reason? Family circumstances. The real reason is unknown, but Han has a hunch. Choi Son-sim didn't find what he was looking for. Nis sent him to observe, and he observed for 2 months. He suspected Han but couldn't confirm it. Operation Mirror worked well enough to sow doubt. And doubt in intelligence is worse than failure. Failure can be written off. Doubt gnaws at you. Choi Son-sim is a man who cannot tolerate uncertainty. He's leaving not because he lost. He's leaving because he can't prove he's right. And that's tearing him apart from the inside. Third, Da-hyun showed him a drawing yesterday, on her own. She came up during break. She placed the sketchbook on his desk, open to a page, a drawing, a hallway, long, white, doors on both sides, a figure at the end of the hallway, small, a child's, a girl of about 7. She has her back turned. Da-hyun said she draws this hallway every night. She said she doesn't know where it is. But she knows she was there. Han looked at the drawing and recognized the hallway. 3rd floor of Building B, the base near Suwon. He had been there once. The doors were closed. Children were crying behind them. He didn't go in, not his job. He walked past, just as he walked past everything that wasn't his job. 30 years, 116 targets, not a single question. Now the questions all came at once. Han handed the sketchbook back to Da-hyun and said nothing. The exam is over. Han turns in his paper. 76 out of 100, average. The mask holds. Yuna is waiting for him in the hallway. She stands against the wall with her arms crossed. She says she signed up for self-defense classes at a boxing club. She says the coach was surprised but agreed. Han nods. Yuna is silent for a second. Then she says he was right, that attacking without defense is asking to get hit. She says she's been asking for this for 2 years, ever since her brother died. She says she won't ask for it anymore. Han looks at her. She isn't crying. Kang Yuna isn't crying, but her voice is a half-tone lower than usual. And her hands, which are always clenched into fists, are now just hanging at her sides, open. Han says her brother would be proud. Yuna hits him on the shoulder, hard. Then she turns away. Han sees her wipe her eyes with the back of her hand, quickly, roughly, like everything she does. Then she leaves. Han rubs his shoulder. It'll leave a bruise. After lunch, the last class of the semester, English. Moon Seon-nim says goodbye to the class. She says there will be a new teacher next semester. She's being transferred. Han listens and thinks. Transferred. NIS is recalling the agent. Either the mission is complete or it's been canceled. If it's complete, that means they found what they were looking for. If it's canceled, that means they've moved on to something else. In any case, Moon Seon-nim is leaving. One less threat inside the school. After class, Han leaves the classroom. The hallway is empty. End of the day. End of the semester. The students are dispersing. Han walks toward the stairs. Choi Son-sim is standing on the landing between floors. In regular clothes, not in a tracksuit. He's waiting. Han stops. 2 people on an empty staircase. Choi Son-sim looks at him. For a long time. Then he speaks quietly. He says he doesn't know who Han Ji-won is. He says he only knows that he isn't who he claims to be. He says he looked for proof and found none, but his instincts don't lie. 30 years of service, his instincts don't lie. Han is silent. Chae Sonsanim says he's leaving for Jeju. He says he has a house there. He says he's tired. Then he pauses. He says he doesn't know why Han is here, but he saw how he treats the children. He saw the sandwiches. He saw the food containers. He saw the girl who wouldn't eat start to eat. He saw the girl who used to fight stop fighting. He says a man who does things like that can't be a bad person, even if he's lying about everything else. Han stands and listens. Chae Sonsanim straightens up. He bows, deeply, the way equals bow to one another. Han bows in return, just as deeply. Two men on the stairs, a former Special Forces soldier and a former liquidator. Both know who stands before them. Both remain silent about it. Chae Sonsanim turns and walks down the stairs. Han stands and hears the footsteps fade away. The door downstairs opens and closes. Silence. Han leans against the wall. He closes his eyes.
Chae Sonsanim is gone. He didn't turn him in. He didn't report him. He just left. Because he saw enough to understand that Han isn't an enemy, not a threat, just a man who's hiding, and who, while he's hiding, makes the world around him a little better. It's not an excuse, but it's enough. For Chae Sonsanim, it's enough. Evening. Han is walking home, not his usual route, a long one, through the park by the river, number 3 on Emily's list. He walks across the bridge and looks at the water. The semester is over. He survived. The mask didn't crack. Chae Sonsanim is gone. Moon Sonsanim is gone. Ko Chung-ho returned, but didn't confirm the target. Son Tae-hyun appeared and vanished. A stalemate. Temporary, fragile, but a stalemate. His phone vibrates. A text message. An unknown number. The message is short. Waiting for you during break. There's a conversation. No signature, but Han knows. Tae-hyun, vacation. 3 weeks. Time that can be used for preparation or for living. Han walks further across the bridge. He thinks. Over the semester, he did things he hadn't planned. Fixed a hair clip, prepared hundreds of containers. He wrote a list of 20 places. He showed a girl how to protect her head. He put drawings in an album. He brought a sandwich to the library. He made 300 servings of omurice. He got a nod from 20 meters away that meant more than all the awards for 30 years of service. He hadn't planned any of this. He had planned silence, invisibility, survival. Instead, he got 6 girls who bring him food when he forgets to eat, who shout his name from the stairs, who look at him so that his pulse rises to 83. Colonel Han died in Almaty on the operating table. Han Ji-won was born in the Haumyeoni program laboratory, but truly, he was born at Chongyang School, in the cafeteria, where 3 girls sat down at his table without asking, in the library, where a sandwich without mayonnaise changed everything, in the parking lot, where Yoona didn't get into a fight, in the hallway, where Da-hyun said her hands remember, on the roof, where Tae-hyun said, "We'll meet again," on the stairs, where Cho Seon-sang bowed to him as an equal. Han reaches the end of the bridge. He stops. Across the street is an intersection. Left, to the apartment. To the right, to the safe house. Straight ahead, to the subway station from which he can go anywhere. Disappear. Start over. In another city. In another country. Forget Chongyang. Forget the 6 names. Forget the pulse of 83. He could. He knows how to disappear better than anyone on this planet. Han stands at the intersection and thinks for 3 seconds. Then he turns left, toward the apartment. Toward the small studio on the 5th floor without an elevator, toward the mattress and the laptop and the fridge containing a container of food for Ha-in for tomorrow. Tomorrow is a holiday. But he made it anyway, just in case. Han climbs to the 5th floor, opens the door, enters, takes off his sneakers, stands in the dark apartment and looks out the window. Seoul is ablaze with lights. Somewhere in this city, Ko Chang-ho is sharpening a knife. Somewhere, Song Tae-hyun is drinking expensive whiskey and planning a meeting. Somewhere, director Park Jong-soo is reading reports about a girl who draws buildings from someone else's memory. Somewhere, a shadowy office decides the fates of millions. And here, on the 5th floor with no elevator, stands a boy with the face of a 17-year-old and the memory of a 67-year-old. A boy who knows how to kill a man with a pen and who cries over omurice. A boy who has 6 reasons not to disappear. 6 reasons to stay. 6 reasons why tomorrow morning he will get up and put on his school uniform again and board bus number 472 again
and pretend to be ordinary again. Because it's no longer a pretense. It's him, Han Ji-won. Not a mask, not a cover, a person. Han sits on the floor by the window. Snow begins to fall outside the glass. The first snow of this winter. It settles on the city softly and quietly. Just as the secret falls on the city about the boy from Busan, whose real name is Colonel Han, call sign 47, 116 confirmed, 41 countries, 6 languages, 1 school, 6 girls, 1 new life. Han closes his eyes. For the first time in 67 years, he falls asleep not because he needs to recharge. He falls asleep because he is tired, like a human being. And he doesn't dream of an operating table. He dreams of a dining hall. 6 voices, the smell of rice, Minsu's laughter, Dahyun's silence, Yuna's tap on his shoulder, Emily's notebook, Hyun's lunchbox, Saren's nod. He dreams of life. The first semester is over. A battle lies ahead. Ahead lie Taehyun and the bear, and the shadow classroom, and the truth about the program, and the truth about Dahyun, and the truth about the principal, and the truth about himself. Ahead lies everything Colonel Han would run from without looking back. Han Ji-won won't run. He'll go to school. He'll sit at his desk. He'll open his notebook. And he'll live. Because this is the only mission he chose for himself. Snow is falling on Seoul. The first semester is behind him. The second lies ahead. The story is just beginning.